Yo, yo, what's up? What's up? Hello, YouTube. It's the Artifakt Hour. We are back. We took a couple weeks off to get our shit together. We've been busy in the studio. We've been busy working on murals and commissions and all types of fun stuff. So today we're working on this painting right here. I'll give you a little preview of it. It's some roses. So I'm coming in a little post Valentine's Day rose action right here for all you romantics. But yeah, so really, this is a commission for this restaurant. It's called Bocado. If you're from Worcester, you know it's one of the nicest joints in the whole city. It's where it's where you bring a hot date. They recently expanded, so we painted a bunch of walls for them, and this is a piece that we're painting for their DJ booth. So they have their new space has a bar area, and this like basically fits in the window of a DJ booth. So when the DJ comes to play, they're gonna pop this painting out. But when it's not a nightclub, this is gonna kind of like fill the space behind their bar area. So I kind of got a color scheme already. I've got like a theme. I know what I'm doing. So I'm really excited to just like start a fresh piece and be able to see how far I can get in this one session. It's kind of like a challenge of mine. I've really wanted to like do some kind of speed painting type stuff. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be doing like a mixed media process of like latex house paints. I'm gonna use a lot of water and basically create textures on this canvas so that it kind of looks like concrete. I'm going for like a concrete, like urban feel that like is tagged up. So we're gonna do like a lot of graffiti elements and like basically bunch of splatters. So a mix of spray paint, house paint, acrylic, ink, marker, anything to make more and more textures to give it some like sense of like realism. So it feels like it's a piece of concrete that's been tagged up in a city, and not a piece of wood that's been painted in a studio. So I guess it this basically combines a bunch of elements of what is like referred to as like scenic painting. So like say for instance like movies or something, like they need to make a concrete set or a texture that happens to have like, some concrete element or like a play or whatever it is. Like if you need to make things look like other things, sometimes I've made concrete walls look like they were wood by like adding like wood grain textures. So it's just like, or you can make brand new walls look like the place is abandoned and dilapidated, or like you can make metal look like rust. So scenic painting, you're mimicking a certain effect to make paint look like something else. So I love this kind of stuff. Like honestly, texture is my jam. It always has been. I always love just like throwing mad textures into paintings because there's a very like organic element to it. Like you're trying to make stuff. You're not committed to making it look like a thing. It's more of a feeling. So all right, so this is like my big box of caps here. For anybody who spray paints, you'll know that like there's different brush sizes. Your cap is your brush. You have different sizes and different varieties that do different shapes and different, levels of sharpness or softness. In this case, I'm going to be using this needle cap. It's like a splatter cap that basically shoots a little bit of like dust or splatter at the painting. So if you want to make it look messy, this is like what you want to use. Um, anyways, so I'm also using. So I'm using a combination of a little bit of house paint, and I'm also using a Montana water based. This is a paint we sell at Artifakt Supply. That's our shop. It's good for indoor use because I don't need to wear a mask while I'm painting this, and neither does Tom over here. Tom's my producer, helping us out shoot the video. But it's good for using like if we want to spray indoors and not like die of asphyxiation. This is like the jam. So like I can spray in here, but there's no fumes. It's basically acrylic. It's like similar to an airbrush. You're still putting out particles and dust in the air, but you're not like inhaling volatile compounds. So you're not, it's bad for you. So this is like a little bit healthier, a little bit, a little bit more, you know, not so bad for you. Um, Tom, I'm definitely kind of like messing around a little bit over here on this table too. Like I kind of have stuff all over the place. So there's a lot that I'm kind of doing off camera just because I'm kind of sorting through my materials and I'm kind of jumping back and forth a lot here. So again, like I said, it's just kind of a feeling thing. I'm not thinking about it too much. Um, and right now, again, just laying down more background texture. Um, there's a couple other techniques I'm gonna throw in here. I'm gonna do some drips for sure. So I'm gonna like water down a little bit of house paint. I'll probably flip the canvas and rotate it a couple times so I can get drips in both directions. So it doesn't feel so, it doesn't matter which side I do, generally like with this layering, there's like a sweet spot between like too much or too little. So but we're far from it. Like I'm gonna just keep going and adding layers and then I'll let it dry a little bit. So off camera, I'm just grabbing a couple brushes and stuff, making sure I have the right things that I'm looking for. A lot of the brushes and rollers I use for this kind of stuff, like I tend to use stuff that's not like super clean or perfect. Like you can tell this roller is all like dried out and stuff. It's nice because it creates textures. I'm not trying to get like a flat color. Another cool aspect of this technique is the spray paint's actually water based. So when I mix water into it, it's gonna bleed and spread. So like, see how it just goes from splatter to brush paint just by adding water to it. That's unique to this water based stuff. So it's super dope. I'm trying to turn people onto it more because I think it's like the shit. But people just don't know about stuff they don't know about. So like think about like being able to spray paint in your house or in your garage or in your basement without choking yourself or like pissing off everybody you live with. Like that's what this Montana stuff is able to do. And again, like when we're inside in a building in winter in New England, like it's freezing out in the winter, so we are, you know, we have to paint inside. And like I remember, I used to have, our studio has a ventilation system and like sort of a spray booth because we need to paint inside in the winter. And like, even that, like it still is just hazardous and whatever. It's a pain in the ass. So this like solves a lot of those issues, and I tend to like find myself sticking with this paint a lot more because of it. But yeah, it has its own like, issues too. It's not perfect. It's definitely more watery than regular spray paint. It has a longer drying time as an effect, as a result. So dries, it's essentially the same as finish as normal spray paint. And as far as longevity, like I wouldn't use it outdoors, like in the elements. I would use it for indoor stuff or anything that's like canvas, basically this exact kind of stuff. Like if you want spray paint effects and you want them a little bit less with a side effect of like nasty chemical fumes, this is a good answer. So laying down layers and layers and layers. It definitely what I recommend when like you're doing this style of painting, I'm gonna hit it with this blow dryer like occasionally just to kind of dry some of these layers in between before I add more paint on top of it, because that'll ultimately affect it. So it's like you're kind of heat setting it and like allowing the paint to cure before you start adding another layer. Because when you start adding water, it takes way longer for the paint to dry, and everything kind of bleeds together like a big mess. So I'm trying to at least give it a little bit of dry time. All right, it's kind of starting to look like concrete. I'm digging it. I'm gonna just keep fucking around with other little odds and ends. I have this like huge dish because I don't want to use a tray. I just want to mix all my paints together in this dish. Um, and then I'm like using this like small little roller guy that again is like hella dried out. It's not perfect at all. It's actually trash to be honest. But in this in this situation, it's like it's gold. Um, so yeah, that one has a little too much water in it. Out recently, but yeah, there's really like no way to fuck this up. There's really no way to make mistakes because it's just, you know, it is what it is. You can go over it, and so or you can wipe it away. So like that's the same thing. I usually keep like a towel or a rag to kind of like give these like streak effects, and letting things drip can kind of do the same thing. Um, so yeah, speaking of drip, I think it's probably a good time to try out a couple of those techniques as well. Um, basically just like, you know, adding a little bit of paint at like the top of your piece and then almost like saturating it. I got to add a little more paint to that. And again, I'm kind of doing the back and forth thing here. Just so that like the idea is like making it feel random and organic. Like you kind of just you got like you got to have ADD with it and just like really be bouncing around a lot. And it shouldn't make sense. Like it's a little bit of chaos. Like it's not supposed to have like order and be consistent. It's supposed to be kind of just like, you know, if you're not just fucking around with it, like if you're forcing it, it's not going to look right. So it's got to have just some randomness, you know? But in like in different tones and different textures, like, you know, I'm only using neutrals here. So like the challenge is that like I'm reduced to value. I can't use colors. I have to use light and dark. And there's a little bit of like warm gray versus like cool gray. So there is some variation there. But like realistically, um, it's just gray. So I need to make gray like work for me as much as I can. And that's just using values and then using like various like effects so that it's not just the same shit, but like a little bit of like streak and the drips especially to me are really kind of what set these kind of pieces off. So basically I'm just saturating a bunch of paint at the top, giving it a little water, kind of watering it down, letting it kind of do its thing. And you can soak some areas, kind of like let it streak. And then adding a little more paint to it is definitely helpful. Sorry, I'm bouncing around the studio so much because, like, to be honest with you, again, it's a random process. So these little sponge brushes is gonna help me out. And like some of this process is also just like letting things do their thing. So like letting physics or chemistry do its thing, letting like the paint just drip and dry as it does, or letting it dry like halfway and then wiping it off so it like kind of stains the piece but doesn't like fully dry. Like there's all kinds of like weird stuff I'm gonna do, and like I don't really have. It's not stuff that I typically like explain how to do it. It's just doing it. So this is kind of like new to for me to kind of like even talk about this kind of process. But it's been fun because I've been doing it so much and like on a way bigger scale. This wall was like I want to say like 250 square feet. right? And it was like 3 walls around a corner and stuff. So like it was a decent chunk of wall that I did like all backgrounds and all like similar styles for just days and days and days and like went in on it. So doing it on a smaller scale right now is actually pretty awesome. To not be like, to have it in a more controlled setting and look at it like more like fine art. It's kind of like taking a chunk out of the wall. Like if I could like, just like cut, like take the mural and just like chop out like a piece of it. It kind of feels that this is like the same similar feel that we're trying to go for here. So I just added some more paint to the top just so I could get these drips looking like a little bit darker, more opaque, give them a little more coverage. And I don't care if it really washes away that paint. Like, it doesn't really matter. Because I'm going to kind of wipe it back anyway. And, like, it's kind of like an eraser effect, honestly. Like, again, this rag is like a paint rag. It's totally trashed. But it adds textures. And it's kind of like water helps, like, allows you to basically, like, erase parts of the piece. So, I let that kind of drip because I want that like drip effect down on the bottom. But now I can kind of like wipe these portions away. Oh, Tom putting the pico on the shredded chicken taco. It's Taco Tuesday over here at Artifakt. Yep, taco cam. Yep. All right. Yeah. All right, so yeah, I'm kind of like so yeah, I do the water effect. I kind of wipe the paint back, strip it back to the basics, and it's kind of, again, as long as I'm following like top and bottom, I can like spin this around in a second and do it from the other side. So it just like you can't really feel like which way is up kind of situation, um basically, yeah, that's kind of, it's kind of what I'm going for. Like it's something where like I erase it, I set it back, or as my friend Brian calls it, he deletes it. Like he paints over it. Oh, I'm deleting this section, you know. But like from it's like using a magic eraser because you're kind of like bleeding through. Like I can still see what's underneath it, and then go on top of it again. So yeah, this lighter gray is how we're gonna. Yeah, I poured water like all over the floor. So, like I said, it's a messy process. Just gonna throw that there. But yeah, see, now I got these like badass streaks that look super nice, and then I can dust more paint over them and just keep it going back and forth and back and forth. Lighter, darker, lighter, darker. Like when I find these darker sections, now when I throw like dust on top of that, boom, it like shows up a lot, you know? Again, when you have darker sections, putting lighter tones and splatters and stuff on top of that, again, is creating contrast. Whop. So another thing I like to do, basically spray a little bit of paint into these cups. This is like the cap cover that comes, which is awesome. It's embracing chaos. Spray paint is chaos. It's just a chaotic medium. It doesn't want to be a perfect clean line or a perfect shape or anything. Like spray paint wants to be a complete mess. And like a lot of people have a hard time using spray paint because to control a medium that is like ultimately total chaos. And I think it gets discouraging for them. But I would really encourage people to just like paint abstractly with it and see actually what it can do. Because like if you just keep painting over yourself and painting over yourself and painting over yourself, you'll start to find like the little intricacies of spray paint or the ways in which like you can control it. Like I can't control the way it's gonna splatter, but I can control the way that like I step back, like the distance. I can control how much paint I put in the cup. I can control kind of where I aim it and like what my follow through is. It's kind of like pointing at it. You know, I've gotten it down where I can kind of like do the splatter effect, but sometimes get it in the motion or the trajectory that I want without really having any control over it. I'm just throwing the cup. And a lot of times it's a lot of fun cuz you look crazy when you're doing it. So people are like, "Oh my god, like he's really in it right now," cuz you're just throwing paint at it like you're some kind of like, you're having a like a Jackson Pollock moment or something like where it's like it's you wouldn't understand the process. It's like it makes you look like you're fucking insane. So I love that cuz I am. So, yeah, so watery, like I said, this water-based paint stuff takes forever to dry. So like I don't want to hit this with any water cuz that's going to streak all these nice splatters that I did. And to be honest with you, they're kind of starting to drip anyways. So maybe I'll hit them with the old hair dryer. Boom, boom, boom. Ba 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 ba. All right. Mess with it and I'll put like, I'll work it too much. One of my concepts, I used this stencil in the mural on one section of the mural. I did like a panel of doors, and so I thought it would be cool to maybe incorporate this in here a little bit. But I'm not sure if this is the right step for it. I'm just looking at my reference here, and like it's really, again, it's it's all interpretive. There really is no reference. It's nothing but a guide that I like send the client to be like, hey, this is the direction I'm thinking. What do you like? What do you think about it? And they go, yes, great. Or they go, could you change some this and that? And that's kind of how it goes. But in this case, my client's awesome. He totally just trusts my direction and my vision. So like that's like the best case scenario is when someone's just like, yeah, you know what, do your thing. I love it. This is what I'm looking for. Boom, 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 and we just make it happen. It's nice and easy like that. It's not always like that, but this was like definitely one of those special case scenarios. So why don't I just bust a few tags on this? I need some words. I need like let me think. I need a couple words that are just like low key, universal kind of like things, but have some meaning or some semblance. So, ba, 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 ba. We'll take requests in the comments. If anybody wants to like throw words out there, Spanish words are a bonus because this is a Spanish restaurant. Um, but yeah, if you throw some word suggestions in the comments, and Tom will let me know if there's any good ones. We'll throw them into the background of the piece, just for good, just for shits and giggles. Because why not? It's just art. All right. Well, I'm just gonna do a couple like strokes and stuff. I'm not really gonna worry about too many words right now. Kind of like considering. So with this, it is kind of random. I'm gonna do some like, motions with the spray paint. Just to like do some like we call them flares, but I want them to kind of accentuate the piece, which is it's gonna be these roses, these flowers. So, just thinking about that for a second. Oop. So It's really just how do I explain this? This is called a hardcore fat cap. So this is like a really big flare cap that gives you these like huge dots. Like if you see right here, it's giving me like a very large um spray pattern to kind of play with. Um so it's pretty rad. It's almost like a little too much sometimes. Um but what I'm kind of looking for here is just like some kind of hollow trails that are kind of like, you know, just these cool, dope little effects. Encanto. Um, que, ¿Cómo se dice encanto? What does that mean? I need Google Translate. Oh, and hi, Allison, by the way. It's Allison's birthday coming up. Birthday girl in the comments. Um, Encanto. All right. I got you. Let's see. Do I go for a darker color? Yep. So I'm going to do it here at the bottom. Mm. All right, so that was all right. I kind of didn't really love the cap I used for that, but that's okay. Because again, it's just, it's supposed to be some random graffiti. So it ain't going to be perfect. That's not how it works. Add a little drips for good measure. Da ba ba ba. Encanto? Did I spell this correctly? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah. All right, cool. I like that. So like basically with the tag stuff, the goal is you kind of got to set this back a little bit because otherwise it's like too loud because that isn't like the graffiti isn't the subject. It's
Test, test. All right, we got sound back. Yeah, just gonna let this charge. Everybody hear me?
Oh, yo. Testing, yeah, testing. We're good, we're good. I don't know if this mic's gonna stretch all the way. Let's see, let's see. Can you help, yeah. Almost, almost, almost. All right, so yeah, I guess that's cool. Yeah, if you can move it like a little closer, that's sweet. All right, so I think our mic is back up, yeah. Sorry about that. I just realized this microphone is like it's rechargeable, and I apparently forgot to plug it in, so it died while I was in the middle of talking, and I don't remember what I was talking about. Uh, just something about painting, but anyways, thanks for sticking with us. To catch y'all up to speed, I'm like poured a bunch of ink on this painting, so this crazy like street ink stuff. It's called. I don't know where I put it, but it's called street ink, and It smells terrible. It's really just like a permanent ink that stains and kind of has like this crazy drip effect. So I'm kind of drying that out a little bit, letting so many cameras right now. I'm also doing a time lapse of the whole process. So we're doing a time lapse of the whole process. So we're really trying to like step our media game up over here at Artifact. That's like the name of the game. I mean, it's 2024. Let's be honest. Everybody looks at shit on their phones and on YouTube, and you know, content media is everything. I mean, we do this every day. We paint when whether the cameras are on or off, but it's a lot better to like let people into our world. Sometimes they just see the finished product of a painting, but they don't know how it was made. And to me, I would assume that the process is more interesting than the finished product, honestly, because that's how it is with us. With me as an artist, I'm obsessed with the process. Like the finished product is great, but that's like when I'm done. I'm no longer needed. I'm not part of it anymore. Like I'm literally only part of the process. I don't sit and like enjoy the mural after it's finished because the truth is I know how it was made and I went through the process, so I can never objectively look at it for what it is. It's kind of like I always think about this like Jimi Hendrix could never go to like his own concert, like that sucks, you know? It's like you know, as a musician, you're so if you're, you know, if you make a song, like if you really love a music, like a, you know, a certain musician or a certain person's music, like they truly can never be in the crowd and see themselves live. Like it's like what a shame, you know? But I kind of feel that way with art, like with my paintings. Like I don't really ever get to like look at them the way that people do who didn't create them. Um, and I bet, you know, I think that's the point. Like you're giving up some bit of it, like, you know, to like to be a painter. Now I just like I look at every painting and I'm trying to just like figure out how it was done. Like I can't just like look at paintings, you know? And I'm sure that's how it is with being a musician and like listening to music. You're just constantly critiquing it. Like it's probably, you know, it's probably hard to turn that off. Um, so anyways, I'm just continuing my layers, darkening and lightening and darkening and lightening. I guess we need some more tags. Do we have any other requests for tags? I'm just gonna throw up words, um, and I think really simple things. Mi amor. That's a really simple one that I'm gonna throw out for my friend Ricky and the Duran family. I'm gonna flip this one around too. Um, all right, cool. So like, I love the fact that those drips now go upward. You know, that's kind of like what I was looking for, and I kind of like this direction of the piece. So I think that's the way it's gonna stay from now on. Um, my audio's still working. Yeah, cool. All right, so where are we at? Back to tags. I'm kind of like not wanting these things to be clean at all. Like, you know, it's nice if it has a little drip, but make it drip a little Bracco. All right, cool, sweet. Painting is kind of getting there. Textures. Again, when something like this really pops out now, like when you do a tag on top of it, you kind of naturally want to just like fade it back. So, you know, I can use these fat caps to kind of like dust it so it just like hides, you know, in this way. And then I think I'm going to like throw more house paint on top, bring some more drips and hit it with the old trusty water bottle, the spray bottle, and then, yeah, it usually does the trick. All right, so a little bit of that. Now, literally, I'm just hitting it with this spray bottle to get it kind of where I want it. And again, you can kind of pre-mix the paint in a cup with water if you want, but like I don't know. I think that's a waste of time. Like, um, because the paint you'll get like a more of like a 1-to-1 mixture as opposed to just like spraying water on top of paint. But you can mix the paint together and kind of more forgiving. Canvas like bends. I don't like the way working on a I don't like painting on a stretched canvas anymore. Like honestly, I think those days are gone. I have like maybe one or two more to like finish and I don't think I'm going to ever really do that. Except for those small little ones, but like honestly, it's better to just paint on canvas on the wall or just paint on straight wood because it doesn't bend and bow and like canvases just like they get tears, they're delicate, they're a pain in the ass. Um, it's better to just work on your canvas like flat on a wall and then just like roll it up in a tube because it has more transportability. Like if you work on just rolls of canvas, you can just buy a huge roll for super cheap and just cut up squares and those are your canvases. You don't have to stretch them until they're sold, because why bother? Unless you're doing like a gallery exhibition or you're selling them, like they can just stay in a roll. They don't need to be, you know, put out there till they're ready. Oh, hey, Rocco. So I'm painting a background for this piece right here. This piece is going to be roses, 3 roses on top of here, and it's for a restaurant um, called Bocado. So I'm doing like a graffiti kind of texture. I want it to look like concrete, and also have like lots of like tags and stuff like that on it. So I'm really just doing lots of layers and more layers and more layers and more layers. So if you have any words, like I said, any words, Spanish words are a bonus, but any words at all, I can to help me tag in the background of this. That those are all super helpful. If you guys have any suggestions. So I'm just like more streaks, more layers, more texture. It's like it's getting there, but it's still like I said, I don't know. There's like a sweet spot where if you just keep going and going and going, it starts to really get crazy without being too much. Like again, I'm gonna cover a lot of this background with these roses anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. But it's all about just feeling organic. Like you want the piece to feel like it's real. It's a feeling, it's a vibe. It's not trying to look like anything. So to me, the messier and the crazier it is, the better. All right, so I'm gonna do like a little more tag stuff. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna do. Let's see. Okay, here's a cool cap I have that I'm gonna mess with. This is this is the Frogger cap. So this is like it looks like it's see-through green, like translucent green, and it has a little red dot, so it looks like a tree frog. It's super wide and fat. It gives me like this like softball kind of shape, if you see it there. So it's wide, but it's slow volume, so I can kind of like deuce with it while it's moving. So I'm really just gonna add like some flares, little cuts, just to give it flavor. So yeah, I love this cap, especially on these water-based cans. You just have so much control and like it's just so chill and soft, you know? So you can really kind of shade and do your thing. I'm trying to just simulate, certain effects. That one was fun. So yeah, like throwing little flares, little, you know, wisps of this and that. Maybe I can switch the can up. Ja. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, anytime I make like bold marks like that, I'm gonna kind of set them back again. And again, setting them back is me spraying splatter on them and then doing some of these. And then maybe we do another round of like drips again. I think it would be cool to kind of find a sweet spot to stop so that I could sketch the roses out. So you guys could all see that part of it. So it's getting there. I'm like starting to like this a lot more. So some of those drips, like I said, it's water based. So I could just say, you know what? Instead of being a splatter, now it's a streak or a brush stroke. You know. So that's like the cool part about that paint being water based. I can, you know, change it up if I want to. Doesn't have to be spray paint. All of a sudden, it can turn into brush paint. Yeah, so it's some new age stuff, man. It's brush paint in a can, kids. Water based, Montana. Get with it. This is the new jam here. This is the new formula. You can use spray paint indoors. They didn't have this around when I was a kid. So this is like a game changer, honestly. It's a little more expensive than regular spray paint, but I've been using it the whole time. And you'll notice I'm not wearing a mask or a respirator. Neither is Tom here, my producer. We're spray painting in a closed studio, and there's no need for ventilation or anything. So, like, game changing stuff. All right. I'm still chipping away here. I think I'm almost pretty much there with it. I can't really like overdo it, you know. I think less is more sometimes, but I do want to do a couple more little flare tags. Looking for this cap, the old Frogger cap. There it is. All right. Something or you know your eye. It's abstraction, you know. All right. It's like where do I stop? You know, I can just keep going with this. And maybe I should. You know. I definitely am gonna just continuously hit it with these darker. This is like an anthracite gray kind of splatter, which sets back like it gives me like so much texture from a distance, like so easily that I just love it. Like anything that I need to be a little more like sandpaper-ish, boom, there it is. So it's starting to look pretty sweet. Like I'm pretty happy with where this is at right now. I would like to add. Yeah, white's a little bit too loud, so I don't want to add that. But I would like to add at least like a little something in here. So I'm just adding little effects, and I'm kind of just like lightening up certain sections. To kind of create more dynamic, because I want it darker on the bottom and to get progressively lighter on the top. This little arrow thing, maybe I can kind of set him back because he's a little overzealous. And this thing over here. So like I don't know, it's a little process of just like pulling it out, setting it back, pulling it out, setting it back, and not having one tag like or one effect or one streak like over dominate the piece, because then it just feels, you know, wait. There we go. Yeah, the flowers are going to go in the middle of most of that, so I'm not going to fret too much more on the middle. I am going to add one more crazy splatter. Huh. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's do another one of those. Same spot. Okay. See, sometimes they're not always exactly the way I want them. But again, that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm kind of just like, I don't want to mess with those too much, because like here's what I'll do. Instead of like spraying water and trying to set them back, if I just lightly dab these, because they're a little bit like louder than I wanted, now they're kind of like setting them back and erasing them. You know what I mean? It's fading them. So again, it's kind of, this texture process is kind of like Photoshop. You're like, there's a lot of opacity involved and translucency and making things sort of see through by watering them down or like setting them back in like a weird kind of way. All right. I don't know about you. I'm digging it. I'm starting to love it more and more. As we go, I definitely like the drips coming from the bottom. I have a little of this black, so I'm just gonna like darken up these bottom portions so that it really feels like the roses are coming out of like to give it. I would rather try to like, you know, add something that's not an element that's not already there, which would be the stencil. So yeah, let's hook that up. I think it's gonna be, let's see for colors here. I think it's gonna be, I don't know, like again a different gray, obviously more gray. So this is the stencil that I'm kind of working with. It's this like floral pattern that I really think is dope. I used it in a couple other paintings. I used it in this last piece for this same space. So I think instead of like covering the whole thing, I think just like giving it little spritzes in certain spots is really where it's at. So let's try that. Like I think trying it with like a really light white, or a really light gray rather, at the top, and like seeing how that feels, so that's not too much. And I think that's what we want. So I'm kind of just like doing it super light and dusty, so that, see how it's not like, again, it's opacity. It's not covering the piece. It's just kind of like layering on top of it. So, oops, fucked my mic up. I keep stepping on the mic cord. Yeah, I'm corded today, guys. I didn't charge my mic, so now I've got a leash on me. Um, but yeah, so like these little, I think like little impressions of this stencil is really like all that are needed. Um, you know, I don't think it has to be a really pronounced thing at all. Um, and I think that I should kind of switch up with colors depending on where the stencil is located. So So yeah, it gives it like just like little layers of like depth, I guess, you know? I don't know. What do you guys think? Less is more, I think. Like I don't know if you can really see it from there. That's why like, you know, the camera kind of really captures the true, you know, what it's going to look like from afar cuz like a lot of what I'm doing, I might see it, but when you step back and in the grand scheme, it's like irrelevant. So, you know, that's what I'm kind of wondering. But it really, this like really helps blend certain sections together. Like, see how I'm able to pull the dark into the light, without really fucking. I'm not covering one side or the other, you know. So it's really it's helpful. Now I'm kind of wishing I did all these vertical, but that's cool. These ones came out good. Yeah, so it's really like soft, honestly. The effect is like barely noticeable, but that's kind of how I want it to be. I don't want it to be this big thing that stands out and takes, you know, away from the piece. I want it to be like subtle and kind of just blend in. You think I can unplug the mic? All right, let's try it out. If we die again, we'll find out really quickly. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm back. I'm unplugged. All right, so laying down stencils, doing this little stencil work here. Trying to again find the balance where it's like it's not too much and it's not too little. Um, there is a sweet spot to it all, and I think less is more. And I think just kind of being like soft with the can and not really like laying it down super heavy layers, I think is like one of the keys to this. Like I'm barely even like dusting this thing so that it's not too much. It's just, you know, it's just enough. But yeah, fuck yeah, it's coming out sick. So far so good. A little more, like I said, less is more, but there is a sweet spot, and I do think the stencil is looking nice, so why not keep going? Um, right about there, I think, honestly. Yeah, now it sees like it feels like it's bleeding in from the edge, like wallpaper or something. Yeah, I'm hyped on that. It could be faded a little back. I definitely went a little hard, but I think if we pull like a lighter one down into the bottom, that would also help. Step back a little bit, just give it a look. So it helps to give it this like extra layer of just like crazy chaos. Um, Hell yeah. All right. So this thing is just like dusted and dusted and dusted. And see this last like little what I like about this effect is it kind of gives everything like a certain blend or a certain filter where nothing stands out on top of anything else. It all kind of sets into itself. Um, Time to invest in new mics. Let me know when it's on again. Hey. Sorry, our mic once again the receiver died now. So yeah, a little mic malfunctions. That's okay. We're learning over here. I will charge my microphone next time before we do this podcast, paintcast, whatever you want to call it. So like a little bit of that in the corner, honestly, like frames it out super well. I was feeling like it got a little lost at the top, but now just popping that in the corner did pretty much everything for me. So like I'm feeling like this painting is ready to go, like as far as the next step and the next stage goes. So let me again hit this with a dryer. I'm doing the old hair dryer technique to kind of seal everything in. Because when I'm doing a lot of layers on top of each other, this paint is not fully cured, and then I'm covering it, and I'm covering it, and I'm covering it. So, like, you'll think the paint's dry, and then you'll be peeling, like, if you put too much water, another layer, sometimes it can have an effect where you're peeling the paint off that's underneath. Because it's not fully cured, though it's covered, and you think it's dry to the touch. Doesn't always necessarily mean something's fully cured. So, yeah, there's kind of a lot to this process, even though it is so random and organic and weird and just like messy and crazy, but surprisingly, like there's a right and a wrong way with a lot of it. So yeah, at this point, I'm pretty much just gonna dry this off. I'm gonna sketch these roses out, and then I'm definitely not gonna finish this painting in this one session today, but I will sketch out my roses, and I will post my finished piece. We post all our finished work to Artifakt Studios. That's Artifakt with a K Studios on Instagram, as well as we post our finished pieces on our website. And then I'll have like a time lapse and a reel of this whole process as well. All right, so while this painting is drying, we're gonna go to our next part of the process. So this mixed media texture process is officially done. That's a background. All that for the background. So the next step is sketching. So I want to sketch my flowers. I'm doing flowers on top of this background. And I want to sketch those flowers, but I kind of want to, like, I could sit here and sketch them freehand, but I do have this design already, so I might as well use it. So I'm gonna let you in on like a little secret. Tom, how long are we in for right now? We got an hour 20. Okay, cool. So I'll be able to get through this sketch and then like fill the colors in a little bit at least. So I have my sketch. Like this is my design that I did digitally here on this iPad, so that I can basically place it on top of the piece. So I'm gonna let you in on this like little trick of the trade here, because why not? This is what this is about. This is an open studio hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, and so there's no secrets here. This is like standard in the industry, but this is called a doodle grid. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a picture of my background exactly as it is. Bam. It's a beautiful background. Loving it. Great. So I got a couple pictures. I'm going to use those to... So I got my pictures, and I got my picture, my digital picture, right? So here's what I do. I merge these together. Merge. I copy that layer. Now I really just want the flowers. Okay, so see how that works? I can select just that layer. I go back. I add the new photo in of the new background. Boom. There's my new background, right? Photo. Now, I'm going to paste my layer of my roses, which is the part that I want to sketch on top of this background. Now, look. I can set it to the size I want it. Okay, cool. You know, I definitely want it big, but not, you know, not obnoxious. I want to like have some breathing room and some negative space for it too. And I can kind of like flip it, rotate it if I want. I actually kind of like that composition a little bit better, mirrored. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I kind of center it. I find my sweet spot of where. Find my sweet spot. Boom. There it is. Got my roses. I think they're great. They're going to be beautiful. Small little minor tweaks and adjustments because I'm a perfectionist. Okay, boom. I got it. Now I drop my opacity. My opacity was, you know, see-through. So I want it to be like a ghost. I'm going to drop it to 50%. Whatever makes sense for you to be able to see through the design and also see what's underneath it, because that's what you're tracing over. So again, I can see this little arrow through where the rose is supposed to be, so I know how to... Basically, a doodle grid is I'm using the doodles of this background to be my grid to trace my piece on. Normally, a doodle grid is done with literal doodles when you're doing... It's pink, which helps me because I'm doing red roses. And this like red and neutrals have been our color for like this whole project, with red being like the accent. Like red is like the one color that we're really using in this whole design, this whole project. So it's really powerful because red is usually like too strong for paintings. Like I don't use red like this a lot unless I'm doing a rose or a heart or blood or something like that. This is like different, you know, because it's everything is so soft and subtle and you know, just gray, that it allows red to like really pop off without being too obnoxious. Okay, so I've saved my photo, I have my reference, now I'm going to sketch. And I'm really honestly just tracing over certain areas where I can see that the painting like lines up. And I might use something a little bit darker than that red, because pink, or actually maybe a little bit lighter. Yeah, just switching pieces of chalk here. I need something that I can actually see. Am I even going to be able to see that either? Probably not. Oh yeah, there it is. Bad. I'm wondering if I can use something better than chalk, because this chalk really sucks on here right now. I'm gonna go. See, I don't know if this wax lumber crayon. No, this is gonna screw it up too. I think we're just going with a good old-fashioned pencil. I don't think I need to like get too crazy with this here. I don't need to overthink it. I think the pencil will do just fine. It's hard because like all the paint is still kind of wet underneath, so it's like chewing up whatever I write on top of this with. And these roses are pretty freeform, like I don't really need to stress them too much. Honestly, I could probably just sketch this freehand anyways. Like, I don't know if I even really need to do this. I'm just trying to do it right. God damn it. Nothing's really like drawing on it though the way I want it to. Maybe this charcoal will work. See, sometimes I just figure stuff out too. Like I don't know what I'm, you know, I do and I don't know what I'm doing. I always have a solution. That's the thing about knowing what you're doing. You're really just running with it. Okay, see, like that charcoal works really good. See, I knew I had something. I just like didn't know what. was the best thing for the task at the time. But this charcoal works nice. So like, yeah, like the truth is a lot of this is experimental. Like painting processes, like especially this mixed media stuff, isn't something I don't even think like it really can be taught, honestly. Like I think it's just experimental. And I think that's what abstract is. I think that's what lost half my charcoal. I think that's what abstract is in a big sense, you know. Now I don't really care too much for what's inside of it, the rows, because that I can kind of work out in layers as I go. I'm really more concerned about the edge because that's where things get clean and tight. As far as like when I'm spray painting, I need to like be on point, right on the edge, more than any other space. So kind of doing my petals of my roses. Da, da, da. And again, I'm pretty loose with the sketch. I'm not trying to master it. I'll be able to work things out once I have the spray paint in my hand. This is just pencil. Honestly, I'm more comfortable with spray paint than than I am probably a pencil. It just be like that, I guess. So this row should come out a little deeper. Cha-cha-cha-choo. Cha-cha-cha-cha. So that's like the biggest one right there. And then he's got a little stem coming down here. And that's what really matters is these stems. So again, like I'm just following where some of these lines and patterns are in this background. It's really like loose. I'm just trying to guess where certain splatters are and you know if it lines up correctly or whatever. But it's really just a way of tracing proportions. So like one thing is as big as the other is the other. It's not, you know, things are proportional. They're not all over the place. Hey. So not too concerned about it. But I am going to give you a little bit of the spray paint action just because that's the good part. So again, I'm going with the water-based spray paint cans here. These are the jam for this particular stuff. So like you can get some fine control and detail with these, but you got to go really light. You can't go super heavy because they'll drip. So I got to really like take it easy. I also got some drop shadow black. So like this will go underneath certain sections to add like a little shadow layer before I even, you know, paint the petal. But yeah, like these are really soft cans. They're super low pressure. They're fucking amazing. Excuse my language, but they're awesome. So I'm really trying to get that like sharp edge more than anything. Because that's what kind of matters. Like it's the contrast of where the petal meets the background that I'm really kind of paying the most attention to. Because everything else I can kind of fix and work on in between. But that's like, I got to nail it. Shoo. So if you're asking me what I'm using, this is a banana cap. It's also called a universal. I call it a banana cap because it's yellow, it looks like a banana. But it's called the universal. It's one of the sharpest caps. Like you really get some crazy next level cutbacks with this. So you're like really crisp, honestly. Like I love these caps. I do paint everything with them, but they're especially good for realism and like just high, high detail, like portraits, like stuff like that. So you got to go easy because of course it'll drip, but these roses are gonna be drippy regardless. So I'm not like, it's not the worst thing in the world if like the paint splatters or drips or whatever. Hence, like I kind of like that style of a mixture of clean realism, but not too clean. So sorry, just restarting my time lapse. So yeah, I really gotta like let these sections dry because I can't work them too much, or else it's just gonna be drip city. But I can kind of just paint everything in lightly and dust it and kind of get this red tone in there. So then I'll start to put like shadows on it, and then I'll start to put highlights, and eventually it'll have more definition and realism. So this is that drop shadow color I was talking about, which I'm just kind of laying like right underneath the flower. So it kind of like can darken the background just slightly, but not really like blend. It's not a solid coverage. It's just like a shadow in a can. So it's a really cool, sweet effect, honestly. But I needed to use like a nice soft cap for it. So this drop shadow color, it definitely helps like separate the background. See, I can do it like underneath this flower before I even do the flower, which is probably the better way to do it. And like even behind the stem before I even do the stem. But yeah, it's a drop shadow. It makes it pop. It makes it give it like definition like off the background so that it feels more 3D and more pronounced. All right. So again, these are just my fills, but they're more than just fills because you're kind of carving and shading as you're filling. At least that's the way I paint. You'll notice I'm mindful of the angle in which the spray is going because I'm fading into the rose as opposed to outside of it, and that's what allows me to kind of carve the shape. Is just being mindful of where your overspray is heading, flying off and stuff like that, and that'll be my chance to kind of have a little more fun with it, or like break the rules, so to speak. But yeah, this is like, a slow little carving process. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to finish this whole painting in this one little stream. I would love to, but it's going to take me, at least a couple sessions to just kind of get into it. I don't want to like rush or push too fast because it's just not worth it. These things take time, and I've got plenty of time to work on this. So I'm not in a rush to finish, but it's going along quickly. So you'll see, like I did the drop shadow. It kind of it can shade a color if you do it on top of a color, like this red. I can like darken or add a shadow onto the red, or it's a shadow behind it. When I pop the red back on top, now it's like you've got this like this pop effect to it. So see, like right here, like that adds like so much definition, and like this rose is on top of that rose, correct? So if I put shadow on that the rose that's underneath, it'll help create like you'll understand, oh, this rose is on top, right? Because now the shadow's underneath in this part of the So with any flowers, it's a lot of like petals are in layers and they're kind of like overlapping. So I have to go back in and do shadows in the pockets of each of these the petals, do a darker color than this. This is sort of like the midtone. So I like to start in the midtone of like it's a cardinal red. That's like the true color of the rose. But then you've got to go darker and lighter. I have to go a little deeper in those pockets where it's like shadowy and dark, and then I have to go a little brighter on the edges and the tips where the light is presumably the light source is above. So the light will be hitting it like boom, boom, boom. Really bringing out some of the vibrancy of like the top of the flowers. So that's kind of what I'm gonna get toward working towards. Slowly, 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 but surely. And I think we'll probably find a spot within like the next 5-10 minutes to like wrap this up. This has been a good session. I've definitely felt like it was fun to kind of start a new painting and break something wide open. Last episode we finished a painting, so that was like a whole different process of me just doing like really small details and finishing something. This is like a example of me starting something. Again, it would be cool for us to do smaller pieces and say like do a whole piece in an hour and a half or 2 hours. Um, but also at the same time, like this is just as much a part of the process as like starting something. I will post the finished pieces on Artifakt Studios on the website, the Instagram, and we'll probably even make some prints of this at some point. Um, so those are definite ways to see the finished result if you don't already follow us. Um, but yeah, so I think like again, paintings like this. This is I want to say 4 feet. It's about 44 inches, so 4 feet by 30 inches, so about 4 by 3, little smaller, and those usually take a decent amount of time. Um, so I'm using a little brown for the stem. I mean, I could do like a darker green of sorts, but I don't know. I think I got to work that one out a little bit. Maybe I should brush these in. But for now, yeah, let me think about this before I just go rushing things. Yeah, I don't really have like the darker green that I kind of want for that. So I have like these greens are like more of a forest green, but I might have to like break out some acrylics or some other like mediums to get the exact one I want. But so you'll see like I'm doing my stem like right through it, but that's fine because again, spray paint covers spray paint. And the cool part is that I can just go back right over it. Water-based, again, you have to wait for it a little bit to like go over it. Like you can't really cover it too heavy. Sometimes it'll bleed. A lot of times it'll bleed, so I don't like advise covering too heavy, but it's good stuff. Once it just has a learning curve like any kind of medium. This water-based paint is really a medium of its own, but this is like the future of spray paint because as more people get involved in street art and as more fine artists use spray paint and as spray paint becomes more of like a respected medium, it's going to be used in more gallery settings, in more studio settings. Like it's way too versatile and efficient to not be adopted in a bigger way. Again, some people are traditionalists. They're going to use oil paints till they die, or they only use the latest gouache tech, the ancient technique of gouache or some shit like that. I mean, there's a lot of purists out there. Um, I don't give a fuck. I use whatever is available to me in the here and now, and I think spray paint is the modern you know, it's the modern tool of like what relevant artists in 2024 are using to create work. I'm telling you, if you don't spray paint, like what are you doing? Are you really that you have that much time on your hands that you can just paint with a brush all day? Like you got to get with the program. Honestly, it's wild stuff. It does stuff that normal paint could never do, and that's why I think it's rad and it's worthy of your time and energy to learn. Um, well, I think that's pretty much it for today. Like, I don't really have much more to say. Um, I think that like this painting, really honestly, what it needs more than me continuously painting on it is it needs a second to just dry and to just breathe. And that's one thing that I think is good for paintings. Like, it's good to let a painting breathe. And that's where you like step back, you take a break on it, you look at it, you observe it, you think about it, and then you come back to it later. Um, as much as I want to like try to like smash through a painting and be like chop 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 and just like knock it out, like again, there's really no reason for me to like try to like push it because I think I've already gone fast enough. And I think it needs some breathing room and some space and time. And sometimes that's as simple as it is. You just give the painting space, you come back to it later and you look at it in a whole different perspective. Just kind of like life and kind of like pretty much everything. So that being said, I'm gonna like let this one rest and let this one breathe for now. The next step for me is like I'm gonna be doing some petals, so there's gonna be some greenery, put some green in the stems, and then just shade the hell out of these flowers and petals and start to define all that. Again, a lot of can work, some brush work, some paint markers. I sign my name on it. I give the. This is a great varnish. It's enamel, so it's like really gonna cover stuff and give it that extra shiny coat. Um, there's also in ink. When you use a brush varnish, it'll pull it right off the painting. And when I use mixed media like this, I can't afford to do all this work just to fuck it up at the end. So spray varnishes only in this studio. But yeah, so anyways, that's my piece. That's my my rose bouquet flowers. At least half the painting. Like I said, check the rest of the finished painting on Artifakt Studios. That's Artifakt with a K on Instagram. You can also check out our website at artifaktstudios.com. And my name's Ryan. Thanks for watching the Artifakt Hour. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and stay tuned. Next week we'll be back for another session. We're doing it every Tuesday at 8 p.m. That's kind of like hit or miss. That's kind of our time. But yeah, we'll see you again. Peace.